reckoning. Blount County started it. Blount County started it. Kentucky doubled down. Gunner and Sharon are finishing it. Shadows where the black bears roam. They kicked in Gunner's door trying to steal his home. No war and no crime, just badges and a grin. But they forgot one thing, mountain men don't bend. He looked him in the eyes and said, you just signed your fate. You touched my blood, now feel the reckoning's weight.
Hear the Smokies roar.
In Kentucky weep.
Hey! This is the reckoning. Gunner Evers calls it down. Blount County burning to the ground.
Kentucky CPS on their knees tonight. Retaliation thieves gonna lose this fight.
The reckoning is here.
Wake up, America. Draw near. For every stolen child, for every mother's tear. The reckoning is here. Sharon stood like stone when Kentucky crossed the line. Took her babies for revenge, thought they'd break her spine. But every tear she cried turned into molten steel.
Molten steel.
Forged a blade called justice that no court can conceal. From Maryville to Frankfurt, the corrupt began to run. They woke the sleeping giant, and the reckoning begun. Now 1 million parents marched with torches in their hands, from the hollers to the cities, across these stolen lands. Gunner's voice on the podcast was the battle horn blast. Every episode another nail in the empire's casket. He named the day, he named the hour, he named the final stand. He called it the reckoning. Now it's sweeping the land. This is not politics.
This is not left.
This is not left or right.
It's not left or right.
This is the line in the dirt where parents say, not one more child tonight.
Gunner Evers drew it.
Sharon Evers holds it.
America crosses it together.
When the last courthouse falls and the last black robe burns, when the last caseworker flees and the last stolen child returns, we'll raise a monument on the ashes of their throne, carved in Tennessee granite with these words alone. Here died tyranny at the hands of a dad and mom. The reckoning came, 2020 seats the storm.
This is the reckoning. Gunner Evers spoken loud. Blount County in ruins. Kentucky in a shroud. CPS is finished. Hear the death knell ring. Every stolen child coming home on angel wings.
The reckoning is here. America, no more fear. Gunner,
Sharon,
your name's forever. The reckoning is now, and it's eternal.
the reckoning. Hey, hey, the reckoning. The reckoning.
Mommy and Daddy are Hey, look. This for every mama got her baby snatched on some bogus shit. For every pops they locked out the crib like he ain't blood. CPS, y'all been eating off pain for too long. We know what you on. But now it's war, this gun and foe. CPS. Kick doors, no warrants, they taking our seeds. Say it's neglect, but they planting they greed. Feds in they pocket, judge got a fee. Run it like a business, adoption spree. Contracts overseas, got partners in France. But shorty from Shy, he ain't get a chance. Mama work 2 jobs, daddy do right, but they still snatch his baby in the middle of the night. Fuck CPS, they ain't saving shit. Just a system full of snakes getting rich off kids. We see through the cap, we done taken the hit. Now it's Suffer Davis popping and we loaded the clip. Gunna got the case, now we in that fight. Taking this to SCOTUS, shining that light. They ruin good homes, now we flipping that script. Time to bring them back, time to empty the clip. They labeled us monsters, called us unfit, but it's they paperwork dirty, all of it forged and flipped. How the fuck they selling babies to a bidder overseas? Then tell the fam you unworthy. Man, please, we got mamas in pain, daddies in tears. They breaking our hearts, been doing it for years. Now we riding with Gunner, and we got the proof. Sworn under oath, now it's time for truth. Trump got the team and the pen in his hand. He said bring them home, now that's the plan. You feds been hiding, but it's over now. We moving like an army, and we ain't bowing down. Fuck CPS, they ain't saving shit. Just a system full of snakes getting rich off kids. We see through the cap, we done taken the hit. Now it's Suffer Davis popping and we loaded the clip. Gunna got the case, now we in that fight. Taking this to SCOTUS, shining that light. They ruin good homes, now we flipping that script. Time to bring them back, time to empty the clip. They ain't gods, they ain't law, they just people, corrupt people. And when the people rise, ain't no system safe. This Chi-Town, it's the movement. We gunning for CPS, and we coming heavy. Yeah. Wait.
I'm gonna pull the whole thing down. I'm gonna pull the whole thing down. I'm gonna bring the whole fucking diseased, corrupt temple down on your head. It's gotta be biblical.
Well, who are we going to piss off today? When we're giving you knowledge and education on things to look for when you're during your CPS case or you're in the court systems. We're here to educate you. Once again, this is not legal advice, anything forward. This is merely for educational purposes only. Welcome to another edition of Gunning for CPS. I am your host, Gunner. Yes, I am a member of the IFPOs. I'm an international freelance journalist listed internationally, yes, covered under the World Court. Just to make that very clear up front that all of this is a First Amendment protected freedom of the press broadcast. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for joining us again this week to get all the introductions out of the way. Just so, we make sure that we cover our rear end, because lately we've been exposing a whole lot. If you guys have been following me on Facebook, and there's been a lot of changes. Now, you guys have heard a lot, and we're going to cover a few things because we tell you things to look for, things to watch for, because this is not just about mass corruption and everything else. It's about educating you. That's right, you. And a lot of people will come up and say, oh, well, this is misinformation, and this is this. You know who come up with misinformation, the term misinformation and conspiracy theorists? That was the CIA. And you can go back and look that up. Yes, it's 100% fact. These are terms that were put out by the CIA when people were getting too close to the truth, which now we know today with the release, thanks to our current president for unsealing those documents with JFK, MK Ultra, Martin Luther King, several other things. That you got to watch when they do these releases, man, and dive down into him. Now, of course, everything else. You have the Epstein files that have now been released. And this is where, we've tried to mention to a lot of people, uh, that it comes down to this is that, yes, Epstein files, and where do you think they got the kids? CPS. CPS was mentioned over 33,000 times in the Epstein files to obtain these children that were being abused and still being trafficked today by CPS. Now, we've covered a lot of things, as far as constitutionality, what's this, what's that. But one of the things this one hits kind of like, hey, we always like a good news about something every once in a while instead of being so doom and gloom. Is to go out there of the possibilities and for you to educate why they were saying what they were saying, or because there's a lot of things that the president says, or certain Cash Patel, they hinted something, okay, and there's a reason why. And so we went down this thing where, lately, everybody said something about property taxes, okay? And everybody's going through. Now here in Blount County, they just voted saying, hey, we're going to do assessment every 2 years now. Because what a lot of people don't understand is when they give incentives to commercial people to come here, say to work or this, and that, they give them incentives. Hey, we'll lower your tax rate for so many years and this, and that, but we're going to count on this much money. Well, then the taxpayers or the people that live in that county have to carry the burden of that decision of the tax break, because see, the only people that are really supposed to even tax is commercial, not you and I. And they say, well, that's why Trump has come up with this. And this is why this guy made the best explanation out there that could help you understand why. There's a lot of things that were hidden that are now slowly coming to, as you guys remember, I called this years ago before Trump even came out. I says, when this man gets in, they are going to start peeling the onion. And that means slowly peeling off layers. Now, listen, guys, we are nowhere near the core. Let me explain this to you. We are nowhere near the core of this onion, and this peeling is still going on and has been going on for over a year by the administration and several other levels and other people, both nationally and internationally, people. This is stuff that is coming out about so much stuff worldwide. All you have to do is look any other country, and they are up in arms. And they are watching America now, even with the Epstein stuff, and like I said, a former royal member family that was on there and a few others is that, and they're watching America to see what we're going to do now that we have the list of these names of people that were doing things to children and what we're going to do. Now, I want you to, we'll cover that a little bit later, but here, watch this one here. Let this guy take and explain to you about your property, where, once again, we're going to start on good news of why it would go to that. Because actually, did you realize that collecting property taxes is probably against even your own state's constitution? Well, one guy found out it was. Take a look at this. This will blow your mind.
This person mentions allodial title, but there's no context for it. It's funny because my dad always used to say about Minnesota property, it's allodial title. The bastards can't tax it. But we need to understand what allodial title is. There are two different types of title under which property real estate is held. One of them is feudal title, and the other one is allodial title. Under a feudal title system, the property that you occupy and that you manage is not ever truly yours. It's always subject to some higher authority or some superior power, like a king or some kind of government or a landlord. Property system that existed in Europe for centuries was a feudal title system. Tenants of that property worked the property and they were able to enjoy some of the fruits of the produce from that property, but it was always subject to leases, to rents, and to superior control by the landlord or the king, right? The United States set up a system of allodial title. Allodial title is a system under which there is no conditional ownership. The person who owns the property is the ultimate superior sovereign of that property. It is not subject to rents. It is not subject to leases. It is not subject to some outside control by a higher authority. Allodial title means full ownership with no superior claim on that property. Now, here's the problem with that idea. Even though the Minnesota Constitution provides for allodial title, the fact of the matter is it's a feudal system. And the reason is because there are three types of claims that government agencies can put on property. Number one is land use restriction. The government can tell you what you can do on your property and what you can't do on your property. The other claim to the property is eminent domain, where a government can step in and say, we're going to take your property for public use. Now, they have to give you compensation at fair market value if the government's going to take your property for public use. But the fact is, they can take your property for public use. And then the third one, and of course the most common one, everybody's favorite, is real estate taxes. Every single year, year in and year out, even after you've paid off the bank and even after you've covered every other expense for that property, local governments, county governments typically come in and assess the value of your property and say, okay, now you get to pay us X dollars of real estate taxes for the right to own that property. If you don't pay the real estate taxes, you lose title to your property. All right. So that's a feudal system, friends. It's not unconditional ownership. It's not absolute ownership. It's subject to the control of some higher power, in this case, a government entity. I actually testified before the Minnesota Senate on this very issue in the mid-1990s. The legislature of the state of Minnesota was talking about jacking up property taxes here and there. I appeared before the Minnesota Senate and I testified about Article 1, Section 15 of the Minnesota Constitution, which nobody reads, by the way. And if they do read it, they don't understand it. Here's what it says. All lands within the state are allodial, and feudal tenures of every description with all their incidences are prohibited, which is a beautiful sentence. It's a beautiful sentence. It prohibits eminent domain. It prohibits land use restrictions, and it most certainly prohibits real estate taxes. But of course, the leftists in the Minnesota legislature, that goes in one ear and out the other, and they did, they just had no impact on it. But the fact of the matter is, friends, you don't own your property as long as you are holding that property in what is called in modern U.S. law now fee simple ownership. So even though it's supposed to be an allodial system, in practice it operates as a feudal system, and that's why the government is in their pocket year after year after year, even after they paid for their property. This person.
Wow. So there you have it, guys. There's an explanation to where, to be honest, I believe if I was a resident of Minnesota, I would be doing one of the largest class action suits against the state in federal court over these property taxes they have illegally placed upon the people of Minnesota. And that's in federal court because he's, once again, he's put that through there of saying they're not following their own state constitution. They have breached the contract between the people, we the people, and the state of Minnesota in that particular. And there are other states, if you look in with a lot of those others, and not every single one has those things. With allodial title, there's some that go all the way back to say, hey, go with land patent. Why? Because land patent goes back to the origination when the U.S. was first cut up and this and that, and you had patents. In other words, it's done in the patent office. And that was before real estate or anything else. That's the way that they were kind of taking ownership. But I think, it split out, but the patents still have a lot of power. If you go down through there, that's the land patents that goes through it. Guys, this is about education 100%. Now, we have stirred up so much in the reckoning that we're talking about not just here at Gunning for CPS and what we're doing to abolish the CPS system, and with educating you, letting you and equipping you for your own fight and educating you, because once again, some of these things may apply to your case and some things they may not. But this is what we're doing to show you the impact that we have as Americans on other countries, because I know this show goes to other continents and is replayed multiple times in places like New Zealand, Australia. I believe England's got it. We have some people from England and so on and so forth that follow us and watch it through the YouTube. This is the beautiful thing about YouTube, is it stretches across the globe. So they can look up a certain subject and boom, we come up as part of like a search engine. And that's how they found a lot of us, or they followed us on Facebook and then found out about the show. But I want you to hear what kind of impact we have with this next clip.
If the United States can conduct an operation in Venezuela to capture Nicolas Maduro, an elected president, and put him on trial in American courts, then why is it impossible to capture Benjamin Netanyahu from Israel and bring him before international court?
Wait a minute. The U.S. went down to Venezuela and kidnapped their damn president. Why can't we do that for another country? We're Great Britain. and hold this guy accountable for something. The leaders of Israel. And I'm going to go down once again. There's a difference that most people don't understand in the Jewish culture is there are two different type of people. There are, and two different sects, if you will, that are primaries. One is the Zionists, and you guys will hear this word a lot, and this has been coming out a lot more. And I've known this for a long time. Like I said, I knew a lot of converted Jews, so on and so forth, that they were very stringent on how they came out of one into another. And anyway, it's very complex, but it's also very simple. And the Zionists are just all about the political gain or anything else, and about the money and about riches and wealth and all those other things. And then you have what's like the Judaism, which is their religious belief, and it's a complete different thing. And then they're kind of caught up in the middle. And now we're coming to find out that the people that are over in Palestine were actually where they shipped all the Jewish people they found from the concentration camps and everything else. And between treaties and some of the other things with Great Britain and Russia and everything else, they just decided to dump all these Jewish people from all over Europe and dump them in Palestine. And you can go down that rabbit hole. You guys say it's a fantastic story if you go into World War II and what they've done. And that's why Eisenhower, I don't want to say it was not Eisenhower. I believe it was Patton. Was Patton under World War II? And once again, you'll get it's one of the leaders, one of the generals that came out. And you'll have to forgive me. It slips my mind. But actually turned around and said, and I know this has made it around quite a bit, that says, we actually fought on the wrong side of the war. That they knew something we didn't. Well, see, this is the thing. This is why CPS, now I'm going to tie this together. This is why CPS wants to destroy your families, because those of us that grew up, like my grandfather was in World War II and told his war stories to grandchildren or possibly his children or something like that, because that was always a subject that would always come up, and you'd have to do a book report or this or that, like somebody from Vietnam or Korea. Those were things, growing up in public school system. One of the things we had to do before it went completely freaking haywire and just ignorant, and where we had free thinking, some of that was starting to get squashed. But anyway, you go back through and you got those stories of what they seen firsthand. Now, that's better than anybody else writing a book about, doing a movie about, or anything else. It was saying, nope, I was boots on the ground. I was there, and I could tell you so much. And that's just like I went through. Now, my grandfather rescued several concentration camps. Okay. He was actually one man away from being called up to actually march on Hitler, but instead his group went to his vacation home with the unit that he was in. But and you guys can read all about that, like I said, and you'll probably figure some of those other things out. But there's been several things that have been done about this Band of Brothers, several other movies. So I think good Lord, the Dukes, I think, has done a couple World War II movies, Clint Eastwood, so on and so forth. And we've given this perspective from Hollywood, but not from a person's first person point of view. And this is what CPS doesn't want you to know is the truth. The things that were considered conspiracy theorists, or somebody seen something and then it got around and it wasn't supposed to. Well, that's misinformation. That's misinformation. And it's not. And that's why we have to sift this in time. And we have to understand too, it may not be true now. But the question is use deductive reasoning and do your own research of going, what is the probability that it actually is true? That's where you have to do some of the sifting. Why? Because you're looking at some of the same evidence, and people say, well, they did the same thing for UFOs and everything else. Well, I guess we're going to find out something here this week because they're declassifying all the stuff on, aliens or whatever that they've got, supposedly. So who knows what else they've been hiding from us. And now I'm not sounding crazy. Once again, I'm saying, let's wait and see what actually comes out. And that's just a huge thing. But we've got, just some wild stuff. Now, I want you to listen to this stuff. Now, this is where we go into the bar, and we're going to start stepping on some toes here. And I told you guys, we ain't taking no shit no more. We're going to war with these people, literally, either figuratively or actually. I don't know how this is going to pan out, especially with the Epstein stuff, how we're not up in arms right now with every American across this country with their, raising up against the government to remove everybody to once again replace what was found out. And this is one of the reasons why we're not there is almost amazing me with after once this came out. And I think it's also a test to see how numb we are to go, do we really care? Because if we really cared, the Constitution's already clear with what it says about some of that stuff. And but let alone the Declaration of Independence makes it even abundantly clear that when those type of things happen, it becomes a duty for we the people to remove those people by any means necessary and to replace them and then put back a system to make sure it never happens again. Well, now we're seeing the NGOs getting money, this getting money, so on. Like I said, we're seeing so much and it's so overwhelming, which is why I told you guys they're going to peel the onion, okay? A little bit at a time, because imagine you getting hammered with everything that has gone on in this past year. Imagine getting all that done in one day. That would be crazy because you couldn't handle it. They're going to go through the processes. They're going to do it right, but they're going to peel the onion. But like I said before, we are nowhere near the core of this onion, and they are just dumping little bits at a time on our plate as we can absorb and what we're going to do with it, we the American people. Because here's the other thing, the world's watching in half of the other countries. That's why they block out most of the news in other countries and stuff, because they don't want you to know what's really going on over there. They're like in the streets and burning down places and tearing down governments in other countries and this and that over this Epstein list and more. I mean, finding out that the jab, the COVID-19 was an experiment to control the people, the mass populaces of the world. It's been confirmed. There you go. What some of us already knew, and we knew it was bullshit the whole time. Guess what? We've been vindicated the past, I think it was 2-3 weeks ago that they released that. Look that up. Go ahead, 100%. It's out there. Absolute truth. Now to get into some of the meat and potatoes. Now, Darren's backstage and I'm going to share some of this stuff with you. But when I get to a couple of these other videos, I want him to chime in here, just giving him a heads up too. This is going to blow your mind. Now, this is, I want to share some details with this a little bit first. One, this is Congress bringing in Pam Bondi about the Epstein list. And I want you to hear, they confront her now over what the hell's going on. Watch.
I'm going to show you two photos.
Thank you.
I'm going to show you two photos of former Prince Andrew. Prince Andrew attended various parties with Jeffrey Epstein. Under the law Congress passed, you were allowed to redact photos to protect the victims of Epstein's sex trafficking operation. You redacted the photos of this victim's face because you were following the congressional law. Is that correct?
I'm sorry that we redacted the victim's
Because you were
face.
following the congressional law, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You have now established that please put the photos back up, that we are looking at a sex trafficking victim. Under the Federal Victims Trafficking Protection Act, not only is Jeffrey Epstein guilty, but anyone who patronizes Epstein's sex operation is also guilty of a crime. That's why I find it absolutely despicable that you sought to protect Epstein's clients, like former Prince Andrew. Last July, you closed the case on Epstein's abusers. The July 2025 memo from your Department of Justice stated, quote, "We did not uncover evidence that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties." These two photos, please put the photos back up. These two photos staring you in the face are evidence of a crime and more than enough evidence to predicate an investigation against former Prince Andrew. So I ask you, Attorney General Pam Bondi, why did you shut down this investigation last July, and why have you not prosecuted former Prince Andrew?
I don't believe you asked Merrick Garland these questions when he was Attorney General and set before.
I agree with you.
You twice.
Reclaim my time.
Never
I agree with
mentioned
you. I agree with you. During the Biden administration, I called for people looking at Epstein files. Merrick Garland dropped the ball, as did Attorney General Bill Barr, as did Alex Acosta, a whole string of failures. But you are in charge. You have the power to change things, to hold these men accountable, and you're doing the opposite. You're protecting them.
Guys, that's Congress asking the Attorney General, why did you cover for this, and that? And now let me explain a few things. One, attorneys, even in this country, if you deal with business or anything else, or with another country, it's corporate law, it's international law, all these other things. This is why the bar goes about what it does of saying, why don't you this, why don't you that? Why? Because she still holds a license. And once again, all those things are through, generally through and maintained through the American Bar Association. Now, there are some states recently that have disbanded the American Bar Association in their state because of this collaboration, because if it hurts this firm or that firm, because it's about money, it's about power. This is how deep this rattles everything. Why aren't you going after everybody? And if you heard the guy in there, not just the Jeffrey Epsteins, but anybody, did you hear what the congressman said? All of them. And yes, I got onto the last people too. And the American people, here's somebody from Congress speaking for the American people. Oh, hell no. Every single one of them should be, and this is a response after she made a public statement, Pam Bondi did, that, in another series, through there that turned around and says, we can't take them all down, because it would shut down the government. It would shut down this. It would shut down that. It would shut down all these other things. So now we're worried about business than being in the business of the law and the Constitution. Do you hear the rhetoric and the things that are going on, that are going on there, that you're listening, and you're hearing a member of Congress? Everybody needs to go. Here's the thing. He's basically saying, I'm not on the damn list, but every single one of them should. And a majority of America agrees with this man. What are you going to do? Because you're going to have to do something, because the temperature of everything across this country, it's about to its breaking point. Now, in those same Epstein files and everything else, now listen, I want you to listen to this though. He's saying everybody involved, right? This automatically would include CPS, that was listed in the Epstein files over 33,000 times. Why won't you investigate where they got the kids from? Anybody that was involved in it, from the getting of the kids to supplying the kids to having the kids abused and everything else they did, the people that did, that knew these things were going on in real estate, certain, are they private? Are they open to the public? Was it a rented hall and they knew what was going down and everybody turned a blind eye? Anybody that was involved in this stuff from the beginning to the end, the congressman is covering every angle there and saying everyone that was involved in this Epstein list, from the top to the bottom, even to the puppet masters, whatever it is, go get them. This is the voice of the American people through this, that is the majority. Because if it does not, ladies and gentlemen, you and I both know, now that it's out that CPS has been supplying kids to traffic, and it's on the record, what are our leaders going to do? Because what bigger voice could we have than saying CPS traffics children, and it's in the Epstein files? This is why we told you last week, the best thing you can do is people come up and say, the Epstein files, to put those words out there. Hey, where they got those kids was through your local CPS. They don't want you to say that. They're on the edge. When you wonder why CPS is acting so damn ignorant right now, they know the clock is ticking. They know it's a matter of time. They're all freaking out because if one kid comes back to their courtroom and then they look at that case and they go back that far and think, well, how did they obtain those kids? Through family court. From doing bullshit, hanging and framing people and this and that, even like they did in my own case violates the state's constitution. And yes, Miss Harrington, that is on its way. Now, here's the other thing I'm going to promise you people. Once we have the final one done and it's turned over to Judge Harrington over here in Blount County, Tennessee, because that's who we have to file it under. It actually has to go back in our state, back to the original judge to correct their errors. Well, how are you going to correct errors of the fact that you committed treason against this state and this country? And everybody that was involved in my case now is a co-conspirator of those things. And if you don't know what's going on in Blount County, Tennessee, let me tell you something. They have been melting down the pedo mill left and right. More people, more in the public school system, more covered, more getting a slap on the wrist. Here, we've just had another case that just came through here in Blount County that there was, I think it was something like 13 years was the thing. And they gave him 10 years off his sentence and said, you'll do, 3 years for some massive shit. And it's like, how the hell? Why? Because they make more money if these true predators do a little time and get loose. Why? Because most of the numbers that these people are putting up is 10, 15, 20, 30, 100 children in a period of time. And that's their addiction. It's like an addiction. So even when they get out, they do a little time. They go through it. They put them in a special wing. They get out. They do the same damn things. They're repeat offenders all the time. That's what we're seeing in here a lot nowadays. Repeat sex offender, repeat sex offender, repeat. The percentages are real high for the people that are really that sick to do that stuff. But accusing parents of abuse and neglect and this and that and ripping them from it to have their kids trafficked, to go through that. I don't know about anybody out there, but I don't know a single sane person that would agree in any manner whatsoever that you would rather see a kid at home and being abused than you would, whatever kind of, abuse that you've got, than you would by complete strangers and multiple people just put on the street to be used like a piece of meat. I mean, it's the lesser of two evils is what we'll call it. But at the same time, damn, you've just destroyed that child's life. And they get so bad. And even, like I said, with some of the stuff we have going on. But when I file this thing, listen, and this thing gets filed before Harrington, I'm going to do something. I want you guys to pay attention really, 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 really close. Especially if you're in Blount County and you're watching this. We're going to make that public. And that's for all you guys to see how this is done under a Rule 60.02, this and that, to bring it back. Once again, it resets your clock. Even if you have a closed case, it will reset your clock to your 30-day windows, everything else that they forced and they pushed you through real fast. Hey, hurry up and do this. You're going to do an appeal. You're going to do this. You're going to do it. Why? Because you got 30 days to do it. As soon as the judge writes up the paper, you got 30 days. Why do I only have 30 days? Why don't I have a year? If you're so confident in what you're doing, why are you getting, that's like a bad car salesman that turns around. I'll give you, what was the old saying? 5 minutes or 5 blocks. There's your warranty. After that, you're on your own. This is a bad thing. And this is them covering themselves with that, their immunity, everything else. And that you're going to see the same system set up pretty much every state because it covers itself. And so does that state system. But with a Rule 60, especially a 60.02, you're talking mass corruption, everything else, and you'll guys will get some understanding. Oh, well, what's the Rule 60 or 2? In other words, there's things, and I know Darren could probably explain it a little bit more in depth, but it's basically saying you screwed up and you screwed up so bad, even though you're patting each other on the back. Let me go back over now that court's over with and say, you did this wrong, you did this wrong, you did this wrong, you did this wrong, you did this wrong. And yes, if you had corrected all those things, I would have not gotten the outcome I would have gotten had I had a fair trial, is what you're pointing out. That could be their judicial canons. That could be your state code, that they violated the state code, your state constitution. You violated the state's constitution this particular way. And like everybody that looks at this, and like I said, we've had to deal with some things because we've had some hiccups. We've had some retaliation in our personal case, this and that. And we've learned as we've gone along, but at the same time, we've tried to teach you, listen, we've had a hiccup here. This is the way we do it. But listen, this thing about making sure you file the appropriate stuff in the right courtroom, that even goes for your Rule 60 or even your appeal, because that goes even before appellate court. You don't even run to the appellate court. They'll kick you out. Why? You're past your 30 days. You have to go. Every state's different. That's why we tell you, look into your own state when you're doing this, or the state that you're facing, or multiple states. We've also covered UCC JEA, that's jurisdictional. We've talked about this a little bit too, that you guys will get a little bit more on that too, but education on that and how that works. And that's going across state lines. And there is a very specific procedure that is overseen by only the federal courts, and only the federal courts only. A state court cannot rule on this, as they don't have jurisdiction. They try to. But once again, the first part that you must go when you go into a courtroom is the first thing the court must justify before everybody in the court, and not assumed. And you guys can call them out on that. How do you have jurisdiction? Jurisdictional challenges are the biggest thing, and it is the burden of the court to establish the jurisdiction before you can move forward. It's not presumed. It must be established in every case. Darren, you want to chime in here on that part right there? Is that correct? You can pull yourself out if you're back there and you're available. Maybe he'll get out here in just a second. Yeah, jurisdiction is a huge thing, guys, and it's a huge thing of everything else. And they move so fast because it's what they call business as usual. They're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to understand every bit of the process through there. If not, you need to make sure, even if you have an attorney, you address the court directly. Your Honor, I don't understand. Well, your attorney can understand it at a later. No, Your Honor, I have to understand before you can proceed by law. I don't understand what's going on. I need somebody to explain this to me, and how you have this and how that. And there's the thing the court don't want you to realize too, is it then becomes the burden upon the court to explain these things before they can proceed forward. And they're going to try and push and go, no, 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 no. I want you to explain everything to me. Well, I don't have, Your Honor, by law, before you can proceed, I have to fully understand, even with an attorney. And it's not the attorney's job, it's the court's responsibility. See how much they've been getting away with? How bad it is? So, Darren, if you're back there, I'm going to go ahead and get started on this, but I want your input on this video. So if you're watching, definitely watch this video. Guys, I want you to listen very, very, very carefully. And it's so fast and it's so smooth. This is what I'm talking about, how fast they move. And the reason they move so fast is because you won't catch it. What I'm going to play for you now is an actual recording from a courtroom. Okay. This is, once again, this is, done through there. This is, through there, and this is replay, but you listen to what has been done, because this is, like I said, they record these. Not everybody does video. Okay. Some people just turn on a tape recorder still. I mean, with the video age it is now, I'm surprised that this is not a requirement for technology, that they must have video access and recordings of everything else, because hell, they can do Zoom. So same thing in the courtroom. Why not just do a video? That covers your audio and your video, and then you can see a few things. But once again, this is why they like to hide it. But check this out. It's going to blow your mind. This is it. Now, this came up under a thing to where it says, can a judge allow entry into a private home without a warrant is the question. But I want you to listen attentively, the interaction between the judge, the prosecutor, And the guy defending this guy is an attorney, all bar members, okay? All state bar members. And how they give away this man's rights and do it right before him, or even his attorney convinces this guy to give up a constitution. His own attorney does. And, you know, this is going to blow your minds, but watch and listen. Listen very carefully.
Okay. Good morning. You're Carlos Rodriguez?
Yes.
And so Mr. Salinas
Yes, Rob.
has been here before, and we went through some motions, and I granted, I guess, an order for the investigator for Mr. Salinas and the investigator for the Assistant District Attorney's Office to get together at an appropriate time for that investigator to walk through, take pictures if necessary, not touch anything in that home. And
Yes.
Okay, guys, I want to point out something here real quick. The judge gave an unconstitutional order to enter somebody's house and take pictures from both parties. One, we're going to ask some questions here. This is where we need to understand some things. Judge, do you even have the power or the authority or the jurisdiction to order entry into the home? Because if you're dealing with Fourth Amendment issues by federal law, you have to be an Article 3 judge to even give that order for anything in the home with just cause, with a sworn affidavit, as a warrant just, duly does dictate. Okay, you must. Do you have the authority to do those things? Now, there's the first question. She gave an unconstitutional order. This is already once again, this is a mistrial, or this case is thrown out because she has given an unconstitutional order. But do they bother with that? Or, they're going to address it here. Now watch it.
While we're here today.
Yes, Your Honor. It has not been done as of today. I've sent multiple follow-up emails to Kobe. I understand that new district attorney.
Yes, Ms. French is new on this, so
Yes.
I'm sure she's gotten up to speed. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Judge. Thank you.
Yes, Your Honor. But I mean, I've made all good faith efforts. I've put the state in contact with my investigator, made diligent follow-ups throughout the last month. And it seems that the order has not been carried out.
And Mr. Gertz, why are you here standing
Because I
up?
represent Loriana Solo Gomez, Judge, the homeowner of
Okay.
the home whose home is set to be searched, and I'm here to assert his Fourth Amendment rights not to have his home searched without.
Well, it's not a search. I'm not allowing anyone to search anything. It's just a walkthrough to get the kind of the lay of the land of the house, is my understanding. So I think there is a distinction with.
Do you hear her trying to talk her way out of getting a warrant by saying it's not defined as a search to enter a home and get the lay of the land? The lay of the land is called searching. You're searching for the lay of the land. Yes, it is a search.
Regard to that, and
It
go ahead.
be difficult, Judge, but I mean, the Fourth Amendment, there's no case law that makes such an exception for law enforcement or anybody to just walk through a home and start photographing stuff. And I absolutely object.
Did you hear him? There's no case law that says this has never been acceptable, not even once, to allow you to do this. Okay. No, did you hear the part of it turning around? Nobody can enter the home without a warrant. Now listen to how they circumvent this.
This person has a Fourth Amendment right to be free from searches, and entering the home is a threshold search issue. And
Now, let's point out too, obviously this man rents or something like this, and this is possibly the landlord. What they're talking about, just to clue you guys in of what we're talking about, is called homestead rights. In other words, for you to enter his place, whether he rents it, or let me give you an example, like in my case, I own the house. It was a premarital asset. My wife couldn't give permission if she wanted to because of homestead rights. I'm the sole property owner. You can't come in without a warrant. Was that ever done by the CPS worker? No, it was not. That is a Fourth Amendment violation created by Jeremy Crenshaw of the Blount County CPS. And there's record of it because he even shows that he was in the house and did a home evaluation without permission. That's a Fourth Amendment violation. After that, that's a constitutional rights violation. Anything after that is considered fruit from a poisonous tree. You can't use anything. You can't collect any more evidence. Why? Because it started there. That's where you've got a huge problem. That's why my case turns around and go, well, wait a minute, that happened to me. Yes, exactly. This is why we're explaining it to you. This is a Fourth Amendment violation. How do you prove it? The lack of their warrant. Where's the warrant? Was the warrant signed properly by the proper judge? Was it notarized by the court clerk and stamped as being received and on the court record before it was served? Why? Because there was no emergency to it. They had to get the proper stuff, but they don't. Well, here's a little secret. In the state of Tennessee, Tennessee CPS is actually put in their books, and they train their people to violate your Fourth Amendment right. It says they have a right to enter your home. No, they do not without a warrant. There is no exception. The state can't give away your personal rights. Yeah, y'all catching it? And here's the other thing, guys. In just about all 50 states, they're all getting the same exact training, and the same policies and procedures are in their books saying the same damn thing. And they're flying the flag over of, because of safety of the children, we're violating the Constitution. The Constitution and everything else in other case law and every decision that's ever been brought up, even under COVID-19, under no emergency, under no circumstance, are the constitutional rights ever to be waived in this country as long as that flag flies. Now, keep listening because it gets better.
This court has ruled on that in lots of occasions. There's not some imminent threat. There's not some safety sweep. This is a fishing expedition for evidence in a case. And we're asking the government and another parties or a party to a case that my client's not a party to's lawyer's team to be able to enter his home without his permission. And your order specifically says he's got a right to assert his Fourth Amendment rights. I'm here asserting his Fourth Amendment rights.
Your Honor, if I may, the Fourth Amendment protects against unreasonable searches. Given the fact that there might be potential Brady evidence, again, my client is facing potentially up to 40 years in prison. So I think, while of course Mr. Laureano does have Fourth Amendment right, I'm not arguing that he doesn't. That's clearly balanced here. And I'm not the state of Texas, so I wouldn't be able to press charges or on anything that is found there.
Request a search warrant.
Yes.
Your Honor, may the state be heard on this matter? First, let me say that I just, while we've been here.
Okay, I want you guys to pay attention really, really good here. It has been asserted this is a Fourth Amendment issue, and it is not to be violated under any circumstance. It is now being made clear on the court. Now, I want you to watch how they spin this and now circumvent the Fourth Amendment to do what they want to do. Listen carefully.
I placed my hands on this file. This order came to my attention yesterday when an email was forwarded to me. And so I backtracked a bit to find out how this all occurred. And my initial concern is that the way the order is written, it does seem tantamount to a search warrant. Our CCP 106 says that no person shall be deprived of their right to remain free from seizure of their persons in their houses, their papers and possessions from unreasonable seizures or searches. Not only was the state not given notice of the motion that was provided to the court in order to have an opportunity to have notice of what was being required or an opportunity to respond in writing
Well, I think they were. I mean, we were here on this motion previously.
Yeah,
It went,
Kobe argued that
yeah, there
very
was an
much
argument.
the same arguments that they're both making, both attorneys are making,
So
were made back
here-
then.
here's, let's, everybody stop.
Yes, Your Honor.
Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to hold the enforcement of the order at this time. I'm going to do some of my own research based on the objections that have now been lodged by the assistant district attorney as well as Mr. Gertz on behalf of the homeowner. What I would like is for everyone to do a short brief on the matter and get that to me within a week or so, and then I will make some type of ruling and we can come back and at that point. Mr. Gertz?
Judge, may I make a proposal as sort of an offer and compromise? If the defense would like, I could have my investigator, who's a former Texas Ranger, go and photograph each room in the home. And at the defense expense, it probably costs $300 total or something, but photograph each room in the home and come back and give an affidavit saying these are true and accurate photographs. And we could do it as a business records affidavit, so it'd be admissible at trial. And that way there's no state incursion into my client's home, and there's no other incursion into my client's home. And yet it's a trustworthy source. You know who I'm talking about. And my investigator could come and give us one statement or whatever, proving up the photographs as well.
Your Honor, it seems like we're just the purpose of that would only be to delay. My initial my initial emotion, Your Honor, was just my investigator at the defense's own expense. I didn't ask for the state's investigator. That was something we compromised on. So
that's what I ordered, so that the homeowner would have that level of comfort, which is one of the things that Mr. Hoffauer. But why?
Which I don't oppose. Yeah. Sorry.
If what you're going in for, which I said is not a search and not touching or moving anything, but just to visually inspect layout of the home, then why would there be any issue with allowing Officer Best to go in and take pictures, even potentially a video just of the lay of it, so that there would be, I would ask if he did that, pictures and a video, he could come in, swear, and then that would be the same thing that I was going to allow y'all to do. And that way there's not your people going in. If he's willing to offer that, I think that probably is sounds like a good compromise.
We could do it by the end of the week. We could just be done with it.
Well, look, Your Honor, I don't, and I appreciate the counsel's suggestion. My only thing is, because we live in a world full of human beings. I'm not saying that I don't trust whoever their investigator is. It's just I don't see what the issue would be with allowing my
Fourth Amendment.
Sure, Your Honor. Sure.
So if we're going to avoid a Fourth Amendment issue and me getting mandamus or whatever could potentially happen if I force this issue, and there's an easy way around it where I'm potentially not going to get in legal trouble, then I like that idea.
Okay.
And so I'm
not trying to get you in legal trouble, Judge.
So what I'm going to do at this time is I'm going to modify the order that I previously entered, and I'm going to take Mr. Gertz up on his, if you're willing, obviously, if you were going to pay your investigator to pay, I'll let y'all get together with the investigator who is a very trustworthy person. He was a former ranger. He comes in and does stuff all the time for different attorneys on both sides of the table here in Jefferson County. So if you guys can get that taken care of, I'll let y'all visit, get that done. I want video, thorough video, so that somebody would know exactly how to potentially lay out a house, pictures of the rooms, every room, and a thorough video of the house. And if you guys are willing to do that, then I will modify the order that is what's going to take place and get that done within, I would say, 2 weeks. Okay?
Your Honor, I would concede to.
Darren, if you're back there, pop in here and let's talk about this thing. I mean, I hope you listened to everything that was there. They literally talked themselves out of getting a legal search warrant and saying, we're just going to have a third party come in that's not a government official, but we're going to have a government official come in or anything else. No, the mandate is for any member of the government or the way they obtain that evidence cannot violate constitutional rights. But even the guy's own attorney sold him out and said, hey, we'll agree to my investigator going through and doing this, this, and that. Well, what about your client's Fifth Amendment right not to incriminate himself or have anything in there, which was the first concern in the first place of, we're potentially worried about that he's facing serious charges and there may be something in there. You need to get a warrant and do it, the right way. But instead, and Darren, you're still backstage, just FYI, if you're trying to get in. But man, this just freaking blows my mind that they literally destroy this guy's constitutional rights and the homeowner's homesteader rights of saying, we're not going to do this, this, and this, but we're still going to get the evidence this way. We're just going to use civilians to basically do our job to still gather this evidence. No. What the hell was that? And how the lawyers, well, Your Honor, if we do it this way, this gets you out of trouble for a mandamus. This gets you out of trouble for this, this, and that, Your Honor. You see how the attorneys protected the judge? Well, I want to lay out. I want to make sure there's videos, there's pictures. If you want to lay out, then you do a sketch. Not everything that's around everything. Once again, this is illegal freaking search and search. You can't touch nothing. You can't. You're still searching. What do you think about that, man? I mean, that whole courtroom. Just.
Well, what is there to think about? I mean, it's just wrong on so many levels. I mean, we know that you can't do these things. We have. Now, whether or not it's a policy, a procedure, a statute, a code, or whatever, either way, it's one form or another. It's law, and it's law. And all of them state that you need to have, certain things need to be in play for you. There are certain levels, certain prongs of information that you need to get to each level so that you can be searched, right?
Yeah.
So why do they think they can just break the law? And then even furthermore now, isn't there things that just came out that states that CPS isn't even allowed to enter your home? The employees of CPS and everything aren't even allowed to enter your homes anymore? Didn't that, we just read that?
No, they can't. No, there's established case law. They have ruled on this. That would be, like I see, well, they dealt a lot with it with Hope versus Pellner in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, which that's the video everybody takes in about the CPS worker lying or doing this to take people's kids. But then you've got you got White versus Pierce County that says a warrant is mandatory for every CPS worker across the nation. Did they adjust their policies and procedures to make sure that was corrected? Nope, because all their books still say they have the right to enter your home without a warrant, and it's under protecting the children. And as Tennessee says in their particular thing, your cooperation and or permission is not needed. So You don't need my permission to get into my home? According to Tennessee, no. Tennessee CPS, the state of Tennessee, gave away your entire rights, once again, your constitutional rights to CPS by writing those illegal policies and procedures.
It's disgusting. But where is everybody going up to these lawmakers and saying, hey, we've got to change this. We've got to make this so that this isn't the case. Everybody just sits back, bitches about it, but nobody does a damn thing about it.
Well, and I think I think a lot of this, especially with the Epstein thing, that's my same question. We know the kids came from CPS. We've talked about how they gained them through CPS and the illegal courts and everything else. Even a former federal judge that we showed from the Ronald Reagan Library last week, showing the fact that these administrative law judges are unconstitutional and acting unconstitutionally and should be removed, and they shouldn't even exist. Half these cases belong in federal court anyway. They don't have jurisdiction. And that's what, he addressed that, openly. But then you have Doe et al. Versus Heck et al. That says basically you can't even question somebody on their private property because it's a form of seizure under the Fourth Amendment. So what do? They come knocking at your door with this and that. Hi, I'm from CPS. I'd like to, I'm here because we've had a report and I need to do a home inspection and I need to ask you some questions. You are violating. Your trainer has just taken and trained you how to commit a felony. And if people would call it out for that, record it, the whole 9 yards, and get these into the federal courts, understanding this, your case, that means they can't even file a case against you because it began like that. Because that is one of the hardest things to prove. They say fruit from a poisonous tree, but when you got the motherfuckers on video, you know what I'm saying, violating the Constitution, doing this, and this case law, you turn around and go, you're fired. You can't proceed. Well, the judge is going to do that. Well, that's fine. I'll hit you with a writ and everything else because you just violated my constitutional rights. That's what I did. I went in screaming, Fourth Amendment right violation. And they knew they had to cover him because they knew I had his ass. And he was going to go to jail. And what do? You just saw on this other video that we played too. They cover each other's butt.
Yep.
Every single time. They'll protect the system. Not the client's rights, not their constitutional rights. Matter of fact, everybody that was in that court case that all conspired and all that, every single one of them should never practice law ever again.
Well, I mean, their first obligation is to the courts. It says that right in their right in their oaths and all of that stuff. Their first initiative, their first intentions, their first everything, their first respects, their first everything is for those courts. Because they're supposed to protect the integrity of the law. So they don't want to do anything that makes the law look outside of what the law is supposed to be.
Which is, like you said, they can't claim ignorance of the law because they're the ones actually supposed to know all this shit.
Right. Yep.
So why? So then answer me this question, then, Darren, because you know, or you're very familiar with my case. Then why did the judge that sat on the bench that did all this shit to me? Why the fuck is this bitch even still sitting there? Where's the checks and balances from every attorney that was in the fucking courtroom that should have known the law?
Right.
That you didn't do this, that this was a violation. The very fact that you were coming in, the premise you were coming in, the way that you filed was a pure violation of the Tennessee freaking Constitution.
Right.
And how many other people have gone through the same thing with the abuse and neglect bullshit? And all of a sudden they use a criminal code in your civil case. Oh, yes, they love to do this. Well, funny, the Constitution of Tennessee says I can't be held accountable for a crime unless I'm presented, indicted, or impeached. But none of those things ever happened. So how the hell did I catch anything that had a criminal code on it? Then they're going to say, well, you didn't have when you attach criminal code to a civil case, Darren, you're no longer in the realm of civil procedure, are you? You're in criminal procedure.
Let's go, baby. Let's go. Let's bring it up. Let's take it up a notch, right?
You're the one that thought you would catch something with these criminal codes on people. Well, go back to your state's constitution, because I guarantee you they violated your state's constitution. That's how you get your case overturned big time, fast, in a hurry. Why? You violated the Constitution. You put a criminal code on my case, and I was never any of these things. And every state is different. So you have to read what your state says and how it applies. Okay? Because those are pretty clear. One of those three things must happen. None of them never happened in my case, nor did you follow the rules of criminal procedure. Because when you wanted to put a criminal code on said stuff, guess what that guaranteed me? A fucking jury. And I never got one.
Oh.
Big due process thing, let alone you're so damn lazy you couldn't even fill out the criminal code right because you're so damn ignorant, especially in my case. Here, we're just going to use this whole section. But wait a minute, under that section, there's like 10 different things. So you're saying I did all 10 of those things?
Yeah, let's group them all together. Yeah.
But let's just throw it all at them and everything else. Nope. We're not going to do our
They've gotten away with it so long, and people being so lazy and not paying attention to what they've got going on, that this is an
Listen, guys,
means,
listen to them. They're not paying attention.
That's right.
Go read the code. This is why we tell you guys, when you read your codes, your statutes and codes and everything else. Go in and see what that code says. If it says you have violated this code for your state, go read the code. Find out whether it's in the criminal section side or the civil section side.
And if it's going to be used in the right context.
There you go. Then you deal with, well, I didn't do this, I didn't do that. Hey, I had to deal with perjury on the stand of the CPS worker. Did the judge turn around and do the rules of civil or criminal procedure where you stop the hearing and you have to have a separate hearing on it before you even go forward based on those things? And it's right there on the damn record. Be careful, Mr. So-and-so attorney. You can't be a witness. You can't be a witness and an attorney too. Well, guess what else? Because of the rule that every judge up at Blount County signed the courthouse that you can't have electronics like your phone in there. And they used to have lockers, and now they tell you put it out in your car. Well, guess where my evidence was to refute that? In the courtroom, in the truck, because all the judges at Blount County says you can't have them in there. Well, tell me what law that a judge can prevent me from bringing any evidence to defend myself into the courtroom. Uh-oh. Looks like all the judges over there in Blount County, Tennessee's got a problem because you prevented evidence.
You can't just bring anything, and you have to do it in a timely manner. You can't just go dropping evidence in whenever you feel like dropping evidence in. There are procedures.
Well, let me explain the circumstances or the special circumstances. I'm glad you pointed that out. Now, let's deal with special circumstances. Special circumstances says, I know you're lying. You're lying on the record. I expected you to tell the truth. Now, Your Honor, I'm allowed to bring in evidence to refute what they just said as perjury. That is one of the rules of evidence. I can bring something in. Wait a minute. Didn't know I needed this. Didn't know I had it. If not, I could have pulled it up on my phone and go, oh, hell no. What he said was perjury, because here's a conversation between me and my attorney that told me explicitly, don't sign anything, don't do anything. And the topic, you know what it was on? And forging state documents. Well, your attorney told me that I could sign that. When did you talk to my attorney? That was, he lit up like a 4th of July. He goes, what the hell are you talking about, dude? I've never talked to you or told you any of that. Blatantly, flat out lied. Did she stop? No. Once again, what do they do? Hurry through it. Why? Because we should have stopped. Guys, we're going to have to suspend court. She should have stopped by the rules of both civil and criminal procedure, stopped, and had a separate hearing just on that, even to allow us to get more evidence to say that was perjury and called it out as perjury and even knew it that he couldn't. I don't want him to testify. I have enough evidence to where he sent me a text message not to do it. Here's its time, dated, and stamped. Why would my attorney give me advice and then change it? And my attorney can't give away my rights to sign anything. Oh boy. That's right. Because that's not my signature, nor can another person sign for me. That would make me incompetent. I'm not incompetent. And to sign something is to contract. I never contracted with the state. Yeah, it gets even better. Does this sound familiar to some of you guys? You guys are kind of quiet tonight. And I know we've had a lot of stuff to cover. Matter of fact, I think we've got another thing. I don't know if Darren's got it spun up. If not, we'll catch it next week. I wanted to go back to that.
I wanted to go back to that Rule 60. I'm trying to read up on something right here. But let's go back to that Rule 60 for a minute, because here's the deal, man. What you need to realize when you're fighting in these cases, in your CPS cases, is one, you don't get to, when you file an appeal, you don't get to go back and add in a bunch of new stuff, right? That's done. So when you are going into these hearings, your TPR hearing, unfortunately, or whatever, you need to fill your evidence in your folder full of whatever information you possibly can, because without anything on the record or in your record, you have nothing to challenge for your appeal. So make sure that you're any sort, like what you're saying there, your caseworker lied. Well, make sure that you get a piece of evidence in there, whether it's an affidavit, whether it's whatever proof you had, whatever it is, make sure you get that in there saying caseworker lied, this, that, or the other. You know, on this date, they, you know, a good thing to have in there are the, presumption of truth. What is the paperwork? It's the truth paperwork where they write their statement and then you write yours back on it, telling the true story. Like make sure you have those things in, because then when you go to appeal, right. So then when you go to your trial, one, you have that information so you can bring it up, because you're only allowed to bring up in an appeal what you brought to trial with you. So you don't bring up if the caseworker perjured at trial, or the caseworker perjured or whatever. That's gone. That's out the window. You can't use that unless you get it on the record somewhere. Now with the Rule 60, here's the deal: is that that's not just meant for giving it and asking the judge to find their error in law and then move along and correct themselves. That's for if you found new information, new evidence, fraud in the court is in there. There's like seven different, you have like seven different elements in that Rule 60 to submit and get your sewage, get everything in line, because they're not going to accept this is because in my first trial, the judge, they didn't notice that Jesus Christ, I'm trying to make a good example for you here, and I'm failing on it. It needs to be something that you got a new, like for instance, in someone's case that we know here, there's a new law that came out, or a new law that has been adjusted, that now can be used in the case. Now you can use this. Now this is new evidence that was presented that wasn't available to you at the time of trial.
Yeah.
So
because
now,
that law change also says retroactive on it.
Right. So, or if somebody, if you found, let's say you found a tape that had a conversation on it that you couldn't find at the time of your at your hearing, and all of a sudden you're like, damn it, I finally found it. You can go in now and apply for this. Another one of them is inadequate counsel. So if your counsel is no good and you can prove that, which there's a
you mean like they're best friends? We won't talk about that one.
Yeah, cousin-in-law or whatever the hell they are. Mall shopping buddies on weekends, family vacation partners, whatever you want to call them.
My sister from another mister. We'll just
my sister from another mister. Yeah, exactly. So you find information that way. What is it? It's Strickland. The Strickland standard, I believe, is what what it is for inadequate, ineffective
counsel. Yeah,
ineffective counsel. There we go. So there's that. There's also due process violations, jurisdiction challenge. There's I think 5 or 7 different jurisdictions, 2 of which you can challenge forever, because they don't have a. You can challenge them forever because they don't ever run out. And that's so there's a couple of jurisdictions that you can challenge. There's, like I said, there's 6 or 7 things that you can use to move on a Rule 60, and it is a great and effective way to I wouldn't say appeal your decision, but it is an effective way to go back with your guns blazing and say we're going to do this again, because chances show that if you do win on your Rule 60, they're either going to reverse your decision using fruit of the poisonous tree, as Gunnar would say, or something like along those lines, or void ab initio, or something else, because they don't want to see their image be right through. This is like this person couldn't do ineffective, blah 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 blah. So I just wanted to touch base on those things and those reasons why you can get. It's not just as simple as just going in and filing this thing and here we go, off and running. There's a track that needs to be followed, a brief time period. There's a brief schedule. There's a lot of those things that take place. So.
Yeah, and guys, there's a lot of stuff too that you got to understand when you're filing under those particular things. They're so massive they would turn the point of your case or change the outcome of your case had this had been followed or that been followed, or the proper procedures were done. If this was done, that's completely different. If the rules of evidence were violated, say as a forensic interview was illegally put in, but then there was no cross-examination. Well, we got case law on that too for you guys. Matter of fact, if you look this up, and we've put this out there before, Crawford versus Washington, 541 US 3C 124S CT 1359.
Ooh,
And it goes in
okay.
there. This
Yeah,
is,
that's a mouthful.
yeah, 2024 got, or yeah, 2004. This case goes back, and this case is really clear that, and it says very clear, civil, criminal, it doesn't matter. If they put that criminal code on you, then yes, they have to follow the rules of criminal procedure, whether they like it or not, because now you're to that higher standard, and they know it wouldn't meet it, which is why they kept it out of that court. But once you use that federal, that criminal code, you're still bound by it. Crawford versus Washington there says that if the child wasn't there for cross-examination, then there is no abuse. Says it right in there in the judge's dissertation. Says to turn around and said, if the child wasn't there for cross-examination, even though you put on this and that, you don't have cross-examination. It's a massive due process violation. You have the right to face your accuser in civil or criminal court. And when you took them away from the cross-examination part of it, guess what? Null and void. So there are things like in my particular thing, we're not going in asking for them to overturn. We're telling them they must void this judgment. That is more powerful than I've overturned this and that. No, it's saying the mistakes were so grievous that we have to put a void on it. And when they put the voids on those, here's the reason you don't see a lot of those voids. You know why? Because the first thing the state does, so you can't find it, is seals the damn case, so nobody else can use it. It's their oldest trick. Why? We have the power to seal. Oh, this is so. No, this is such an embarrassing thing that if this got out, this is why they fear what we're doing, in the court systems and how we're going about it and the way we're teaching them. Educational purposes only. If it fits to show you a way of saying, here's a way to kick their ass. And this is how you expose mass corruption. This is how you expose RICO. This is how you expose this and this and that. Once again, if it's void, it means it never should have happened. It never should have been in the courtroom. That's what we're saying. We're not saying overturn it. We're saying it should have never been in the courtroom under all those arguments, which the court must address, and or it was addressed in the court and on the court records, and because they failed to put the evidence together of asking, where was Mr. Crenshaw's warrant when he entered the home? It doesn't. Is it there? Nope. Well, I've got a record of you being in this man's house, so where's your warrant? Otherwise, we're looking at fruit from a poisonous tree, and we can't move on. This case is dead before he gets started. That's what should have happened. And the judge and or magistrate are required by law to make sure that that was obtained legally and properly, because anything from that point on forward, even it didn't matter what they found. Here, let me put it to you this way. Criminal, so it doesn't matter. You come in and you find the most horrific thing in the world and anything else, and this is where they screw up. Because if there was something truly serious, which they've known to screw up, and people have gotten off on this stuff, like literally no charges, because the CPS caseworker came in, did their inspection, caught and saw everything they did, then reported it to the police and everything else. Well, how did you find out about it? CPS came in without a warrant. That is fruit from a poisonous tree. And that is how most of the pedos and people that truly abuse children are getting off 90% of their cases. Yeah. Even criminal. Show me the warrant. You came in. Well, the state said I could. It goes automatically, change of jurisdiction right to the federal court under 1983 under federal questions. Hey, can you proceed forward if they violate a constitutional right, or does fruit from the poisonous tree apply? There's the question. Judge is going to look at it, look at the circumstances, analyze it and everything else, and go, nope, fruit from the poisonous tree, case dismissed. You have to dismiss the case. That's a federal ruling. They have to follow that. You cannot proceed forward. You have to, and you cannot charge him ever again. Why? Double jeopardy. You screwed up. And this is how they're getting, past this stuff. That's why Once again, CPS workers are not trained to do the job that they do properly. This is for law enforcement and criminal investigators only, which is why CPS should stay out of the court and never present another case in any state whatsoever. They are not qualified. And I will challenge that 100%, because there's the thing. Do your people know to do this? Do your people know to this? Do you have training? No, matter of fact, your training is just the opposite, isn't it, Tennessee? You train them to break into the homes. Margie Quinn, Miss Director of Child Protective Services in Tennessee, Margie Quinn, head of the department, you've just been called out publicly. It's in your handbooks and you've done nothing about it. Why? Because you get a fat ass check. Now, you want to see what else I've got? I guess you'll have to wait till we get to federal courts, because I may just have your entire child trafficking ring across the United States to enter as evidence against everybody and blow the damn whistle on it. That's why they're scared of us. That's why they're trying to shut me down. That's why everybody's sitting and arguing this end. You got heat, you want to bring it to me and talk some damn smack? I don't care. Misinformation, this is it. Here's the thing. I don't give a shit. You want to bring it on. It doesn't change the fact of what I'm getting ready to do is turn and burn this whole damn thing to the damn ground. Put me in that federal courtroom. Watch me cook. Because I'm coming with the receipts, with the evidence, with the people, with the witnesses, the entire damn thing, and there ain't a damn thing you can do about it. Why? I got nothing to lose. See that? Yeah. I have heart failure. I'm already on a limited time. So if I got to work to my last breath to burn you fuckers to the ground, then damn, I'll go peacefully knowing I went kicking and damn screaming, tearing every bit of it down. I've got nothing to lose. I've already got my TikTok time, if you will, which I'm banned from TikTok. Boy, they'll love after this case and everything else to get hit with a nice fat lawsuit after terminating my account for misinformation that I just won a huge freaking case on. Yeah, maybe we'll own TikTok by then. It'll be so big. Hey, I want board. I want shares of all of it. Oh, hell no. Make it free.
Yep.
But listen, man, this is what they fear, is us getting this information out. They fear us educating you people, to pointing out this stuff, like in the courtroom. Look at what happened in the courtroom. And I know there's people out there that are going to watch this and go, holy crap, they did stuff like that only when it was in family court. Or there's even people looking at it that have been through fucking criminal court and look at, holy shit, they did the same thing to me on that. That's not legal. No, it's not legal. It's not constitutional. But once again, now that you're educated, here's the beautiful thing, people. There's no statute of limitation on constitutional rights violations. Boom!
See ya.
10 years ago, 15 years ago, you can still file. You know, you can still file a Rule 60, even if it's 10, 15, 20 years ago. That's how people get out of prison. All those people got out of prison. Why? Because they could take and do the blood analysis and the DNA and all the other stuff and the advanced, thing. Now they put that through this new system. No, it wasn't even that person, but they spent 15 years in jail. It happens. It happens all the time. This is why you have to make sure that when you've got somebody, you've got them. Like I said, there's too many of this thin blue line crap that are too quick to close case files and make sure they have the right person. Why? Because they win off of closed cases and popularity. We got to get this person. I mean, you guys ever see something like, in some of your neighborhoods and stuff to where, all of a sudden somebody got killed that was popular, just said all of a sudden the police are all, yeah, we're going to find the guy. We're going to find the, Charlie Kirk. There you go. There's one. Charlie Kirk. We got to find this shooter. We got to find how many different people do they arrest and then question, and everybody got on, social media like, that's the guy. That's the guy. And was it really the guy? Is that really, you know what I'm saying? And there's a lot of hype and there's a lot of pressure to close the case rather than doing an efficient job. And when they do screw up, then they hide behind this thin blue line crap of this brotherhood, because they're not even holding each other accountable. Because if 90% of you were actually holding each other accountable, y'all better go study the Constitution and read it and mean what it and update what it means for what you do in your job, you'd be really surprised half the stuff you do is illegal. Matter of fact, you violate your oath, and this is not a joke. And I've talked to several police. Matter of fact, we've got Herbert, quite a few others, this and that. That even back in the day, man, they taught them, don't you violate somebody's rights, especially as a cop. You do your best not to violate these. Don't do this. Don't do this. You know, when it comes down to it. But once again, being held accountable. What's with all this? The other thing too is, why are they, if they're so sure of what they're doing is right, why the fuck these bastards got immunity? Oh, why is it they're not held accountable? Because here's the thing, if they screw up, they get a little, no, bad, this and that. They screw up your life, what do you get? What do you get when you take and they destroy your family? Destroy your fucking kids of like their whole adult life down there, so fucking traumatized that it's going to affect them all the way through their adulthood, or the fact that they were brainwashed by CPS to hate a person or a parent or a step parent or anything like that, when none of it's fucking true. And then your kids have been involved in this for 3 years or 5 years or whatever it is. Or there's some people, a lot of people will tell me that, you know, we've got reports from that my kid aged out, and then I was able to talk to my kid and explain everything. And then now some of those kids are suing CPS for taking them from their parents. I mean, and they're being successful in these cases. You know, we got to hit them where it counts, man. And it's in the pocketbook. And this is why educating people when they talk about Epstein and everything else, this is, hey, you know where they got those kids? CPS. You know where they got the Diddy kids? CPS. Hey, did you know that Michael Jackson wasn't a pedophile like they accused him of? Matter of fact, he was doing just the opposite.
Yeah, he was a hero, man.
Kids.
Yep. Him. You know, like he was out there saving those kids, man. He was giving them and providing them a safe alternative location to that Epstein Island.
The same thing with well, once again, one and only Karmer, you'd love to sue him, but you aged out 20 years ago. Darling, there's no violation of constitutional rights. If you could tie it to a constitutional right, everything, including the crimes that led to that constitutional right, is still able to go into a federal court. You guys have got to wake up to this stuff. 15, 20 years ago, it doesn't matter. Tie it to a constitutional crime. This happened from the very beginning here on forward, and caused all these other damages from here and there. Yes, you can file it, even if it's 20 years old. You got the evidence and you got everything, you know, to go through it, and so much more. Go after it. You guys chase it, and you're hearing even more and more of people. How are they being successful? It's not with these attorneys to where they win a case here, they win a case there. You know who's winning in cases like this with CPS? People that are going pro se and learning how to do this, because they're finding out the bar's not going to turn on itself, man. They're not going to beat the hand that feeds them. I'm not going to file that in federal court. Are you kidding? I got to go to work and see these guys on other cases for all my other clients. So once again, they're not as vested as you actually think your lawyer is. Why? Because once you said, like Darren said, their first thing is to the court. Why? I got to see these guys next week, or I got to see them the rest of the week on other cases, not just yours. Kind of a conflict of interest with your attorney, isn't it? He's going to look out for himself. Go figure. How would you be able to get your record? I tried once and they said I had to come in, to see the file. So you can file that under the ADA. Say if you can't get out or something like that, you can go there and say, hey, I would like a copy of this. I can send you a copy of my, license or something like that, which a lot of them will do even with FOIA requests or police body cam footage. They do have some digital systems out there that you can get access to them. But if you're wanting, yes, you can look at them, but you're asking for copies. And the reason you're able to legally ask as copies is because it pertains to you. So you have every legal right to those documents. So they can't give you any feedback why I was the subject of the case. I have every legal right to it. It affected my life, so it's, going through there. There's one way to do it. If you know that there's stuff in there and you want to get all of it, or you feel like they're hiding it, once you have a federal case go in, then you have the opportunity to file what's called a motion for discovery to provide those, or you can actually subpoena those documents from those people and say you must provide those. It depends on the motion that you file when you're in the federal courts. There are many ways, guys, and like I said, each case is different. This is why we tell you guys there's not going to be a one size fits all shoe for everybody's case to get it back for this and this and that. You have to go through the process. Now, if you've got a bigger picture where you've got evidence of something even larger, well, then you use your case to go through and then you expose even more, as you go through the case as part of your trial. In other words, this is not something that we file. This is something we discover in court, or with the evidence I have and the questioning I have, you can actually take and have, you can discover more as the case goes on. And there's a term for that. I forgot what it is. It's like natural discovery, like, hey, we didn't know this until this person testified, under testimony. We didn't realize that. You know what I'm saying? This is new, possibly new evidence. Then you can motion the court for more time or a recess to get this evidence because you didn't know about it. Like Darren was saying, you can discover that during the case. You have to follow certain rules. Hey, this is new evidence. Instead of waiting till the end of the case, there are exceptions. You got to look at the exceptions to the rule to enter evidence in the courtroom that you're appropriately in, whether it's state or federal court, on what those rules are to enter those things. But once again, you got to know them, because they're going to say, why should I take and let this evidence come in? You're going to have a response. And then the judge is either going to agree with you or disagree with you and either allow it in or not allow it in. And once again, that can cut both ways, because that can be a subject matter for appeal, that they'll take it on appeal saying, we don't believe that should have gotten in. But once again, that's why they depends on the judge, really. But if they're pretty strict on it to meet the rules, in other words, I'm not going to have this kicked back in my face, because no judge likes that. Especially in federal court, they're going to go ahead and make sure that it's done and it's done properly. And if we're going to do this, I don't want this overturned at the appellate court that I've done something wrong. So we're going to follow those rules. We're going to put everything on the record we need to make sure that if you're going to go down this route, we're going to make sure it's done and done right. Now, state courts, there ain't a chance in hell. Those motherfuckers are lazy or shit with their paperwork. I don't think I've looked at some people and they'll share it with me, and I know they have with you too, Darren. You'll look at it and go, what the hell is this bullshit?
Right.
I mean, this is like fifth grade lawyering, because it's like the federal is generally the standard, that the states kind of copy or mimic after. But when they don't follow either the state or the federal in their, the way it's structured, the way it's done, or anything else, it's like, who put this together? Do you need to hire you a paralegal or somebody that knows structure and just does structure? I mean, that's what a lot of paralegals do, is a lot of the research and, a lot of putting it together, where the lawyer spends most of their time kind of guiding or giving guidelines to the paralegal of how he wants it written up or what he wants done, and tells you how to do all the different things. And a good paralegal, they won't even have to tell them that. They already know the gist of it. And that's why you'll see some paralegals, when they stick with an attorney for the longest time, it's because they work good together. But the lawyer won't spend the time going over that. He may look at it, look over it real good, looks good, and then file it. That's the last time he's ever seen. He doesn't know what it says in there. He just knows it's going with the argument. He's getting ready to present in court. But there are attorneys that are nothing but paperwork attorneys. They do not do well in a courtroom. I mean, you know what I'm saying? And there's other attorneys that do nothing but paperwork and never see the inside of a courtroom. Depends on what type of law. And there's how many different types of law, Darren?
7, 12, something.
Yeah. Crazy amounts of specialty things you can go into besides the general practice. And, but like I said, showing you guys all this stuff and the stuff that's been going on in our world and peeling of this onion is just unbelievable. Well, I mean, we talked about it, Darren, what, a year and a half, 2 years ago? We said if Trump got in office and this stuff happened, watch him start peeling the onion and start showing everybody all the dirt and cleaning house, draining the swamp is what the term was,
Yeah.
and just didn't care what it landed. And now you've got Pam Bondi saying, well, if we arrest everybody,
can't.
it's going to shut down the government.
Right. We
Burn
don't
it
even
the
have
fuck
enough.
down. Why is this even a conversation or even a debate? The law is clear. You're Pam Bondi, do what the
Right.
law says. That's what the people are saying. Prosecute them.
Right.
It's just that simple.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this thing with the judge, like I said, if you, we'll have to one, we've got to edit this other judge because we don't want to give out personal information, this that. So catch us next week. We'll play part 2 of this and show you another judge in Kentucky that's once again on recording. You will hear her commit so many felonies, a family court judge in a courtroom, and still continue on, still don't follow policies and procedure.
Not a care in the world.
She commits kidnapping by abuse of power, coercion across state lines, literally, seizure of personal property to do so. I mean, and she even says in there that, even within this thing of how she hates homeschooling, her bias is it's literally on the record. How is this judge even sitting there, guys? They're supposed to be impartial by just their job description. You can't have a thing. You leave your personal beliefs and everything else at the door, and you have to judge. And here's the other thing, these family court judges, you are required not to make a decision whether or not it applies or not, but you must follow federal court rulings and your state Supreme Court rulings when decisions are made. You don't get that freedom of discretion. That's gone. SEC versus Jarsky is in place. You must. But they're so used to, remember the term we used before, it's called business as usual. They just don't care. You heard the guy in Minnesota, hey, I went and testified and told them how illegal and everything else was. Did they care? Business as usual.
Right.
This is why our voices need to speak out on shows like on the CPS Breaking News Network, such as Henry's show that's on Saturday nights, Equal and the Same, that deals with the ADA, gives you the ADA perspective. The shows are tailored more towards specialized areas with what you have. Then you have Tiff and the Punisher that's on, every, Monday, almost Monday through Friday, depends on what's going on through there. And, that deals with just everything, a hodgepodge of, just information, things that are just completely messed up, dealing with, topics that are sensitive to the CPS world and or, affect us directly, or just something just so damn corrupt with everything. We need to talk about it. Why? Because it's all connected to CPS. All of this is connected to CPS. They've already proved this stuff. And now with the Epstein, and Darren, I'm just flabbergasted when that came out and CPS was mentioned. I was really surprised that not every parent grabbed their weapon along with everybody else and out in the streets and went and got their damn kids over the CIA. No, you motherfuckers are supplying Epstein kids. Oh, hell no.
They're still not doing it. And this is the thing. Allie Carter, right? Allie Carter, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Allie Carter. She's been saying this since the beginning of her coming out and talking about how she was trafficked as a young child. She's been saying it over and over again. She'll tell you the walk through she walks you through from the beginning to where she was taken out of CPS. She was in from home. And each one of those homes she was spaced out from, she was involved in CPS, somehow attaching her to a new handle or doing this, but nobody believed her. Yeah. Shame on everybody out there that would turn on episodes of us playing that stuff and they would turn their backs and be like, well, I'm not watching that. Shame on you.
Mm-hmm. It's right there in front of it. And here's the thing. Here's the thing with those things. And I think the other thing that's going to come out too, I would really like to see come out.
Right.
Excuse me. is all these kids they now know that were trafficked by Epstein to do a research and find out where they were actually came from and what CPS office, judge, and everything else interfered to have that child actually taken. And what's their connection to everything, and go all the way back. And that includes every family court judge. And here's the thing that'll surprise a lot of people. I'll bet you if that was done, everybody in that neighborhood is going to freak the hell out. Oh my God, we were supplying through this court system in our county. We were supplying kids to Epstein. Yeah, one of your kids are there, or 3 of your kids are from your county, or 5 of your kids is from this county, or this or that, all these things from the native lands, from, you know, the Hades and this, that. I mean, I saw a thing the other day that I guess something about a lady that got caught kidnapping kids in Haiti, saying they were orphans and they weren't, is now like the director or something of the CPS in Florida. How is she internationally kidnapping children and part of CPS in Florida with that kind of charge? International charges. And yet that system protected her. She's not in jail.
Yeah.
That was during the whole Haiti incident. Was caught red-handed. Now she's the director of the CPS, or one of the higher ups at CPS in Florida. What the hell? That's how bad this is. This is why, and once again, I'm going to go back to, and I'm going to say it over and over again. You guys are going to hear me say it over and over again on this show. This is why this is where we get our freedoms and our spirit and our political point of view as a nation, is from the Declaration of Independence. And the Declaration of Independence specifically says we will tolerate evil for a season or a time. But once it gets to the time we realize this is a bad thing and we become aware of it, we have a duty, not only a duty, but an obligation to remove those by any means necessary, is what it comes down to, even if by force. Remove them, rebuild, put in something else, and then put in provisions to make sure what happened before never happens again. And if that means modifying the contract between we the people and those that serve in government, that are elected and appointed officials and actors, that if they violate that Constitution, which is once again, that's the contract between we the people and those that serve in government, you will not cross these lines. They're absolutes. But yet they're questioned and pushed every day with gun control laws and with this and with that. And some of these things, once again, am I a constitutionalist? Yes. Because it's a founding document of our country. At the same time, it's one of the founding documents. It's not the founding document. The founding document was the Declaration of Independence. But the Constitution is basically saying, if you do not, we the people have the right to take over and fix it. It's the beauty of our Constitution that we can modify it. It can change, it can grow, it can do this, it can do that. And there's so many different things it can do. But until it's enforced and demanded to be enforced by we the people, nothing's going to happen.
Right.
Nothing. Till we get mad enough to grab what we got and go in the streets and say, we've had enough. We don't care about the police. We don't care about the National Guard. We will have our government listen to us. That is why, remember I told you about that earlier in the show, why they don't want international news out there? Because that's what's happening across the world. They are overthrowing their governments from the mass corruption that's going across, and it's happening all across the world, guys. And they're just crumbling. They can't stand it. I mean, you know, it even hit the royal family with this now. Now England's going nuts. They don't know what to do. And everybody's watching America. Why? Because most of this shit happened on our watch. So we're going to burn this damn thing down and go back to just a straight Constitution? Because I guarantee you one thing, everybody live a whole lot happier, because all this other stuff that the states do would be done and over with. You get to keep your money. There'd be no property tax. When you own it, you own the property. Why? Because you're not sharing it with the state. That's gone. The taxation's gone. This is gone. All these other things. The police pulling, doing half the stuff and everything else. Guess what? We're going to put you back where you belong. You can only deal with things commercially. If it don't have a commercial plate or it doesn't have a commercial this and that, you can't touch we the people. That's the only power we're giving you is to do this. And you've overstepped your bounds. Every state has. We're going to put you all back in check. Why? Because we the people want to live under the Constitution and under the Declaration of Independence and be free to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Because right there, just that right there, gives you one reason right there to abolish CPS, because nobody's got involved with CPS that they haven't had their life, liberty, or pursuit of happiness violated without a crime, a real crime, criminal act, criminal court. It doesn't happen. And even then, they jack up every case. And all they do in the court system is cover everybody else's mistake until it got up to the court. And then the court covers all the rest of it. Why? You hear it, you see it, case after case after case after case. Very few out there, very few of these judges or administrative law judges or even family judges are holding people accountable. Some of them, I get they're speaking up in Texas. I know I've been following that in Texas with some of the reform. But listen, Arizona's tried reform, man, and they're already tearing the damn thing down again. Reform doesn't work. Abolish. Give it to the sheriff's office like it should have been, because those are elected officials. Now, Darren, we're going to answer the question before, and for everybody watching out there, sheriff's deputies, those that are out there, this will get back this and that. Who does the sheriff answer to? Did you catch me, Darren? He must be buried down a rabbit hole there. Guys, your constitutionally elected sheriff only answers to the President of the United States. They answer to the executive branch of government, which is the president. That's it. Not to your state, not to anything else. Between that and we the people, they're to protect us, even against the state. They're to protect. That's one of the things here in Blount County, that one of the questions for some of the new sheriffs that are coming in on the election, that you guys should be asking the same questions. Are you going to follow the Constitution? And if you had to arrest all your previous people and get rid of half of your department to institute the Constitution, would you do it? And then holding them to that. We told you we wanted to do this. If you didn't do that, you've breached the contract that you said you would do that. Why? That's under your oath. Guess what? You gone. You can remove anybody that's been elected. There's a way within everything in there they can be removed.
Right.
But once again, your sheriff, remind your sheriff, you don't answer to the governor. You don't answer to anybody else. You're here to protect the people. And the only person you're to answer to is the President of the United States. You better go get the right book, because that state handbook is shit. And it's not even legal to follow. Because the state doesn't have any right to tell the sheriff anything. They can request. But once again, the ultimate stop, even for your judges, here's the other thing too. In your sheriffs, when you're in your county courtroom and everything else, that deputy that's in there has more power than that judge or magistrate. Why? Because they can arrest them if they observe, which they're supposed to be trained to observe properly. If your judge or anybody in that courtroom, like the one we just watched the video on, watch this, do you know how much trouble the deputy or anybody else that was in that courtroom that watched that go on and that comes out? He failed to identify that there was a constitutional crime happen right in front of his face. That deputy should have called for backup and put everybody in that courtroom in bracelets for violation of their oath. But they didn't. Well, guys, we're going to wrap things up here. Once again, thanks for joining us. I know our shows are getting a little bit longer, but we've had so much information to give you guys and to turn around and try and educate you the best we can and say, hey, this may work in your case, this may not work in your case. But once again, the idea is do your due diligence and do your homework. And we're just pushing you in the right direction of, have you considered this? Is all we're doing. Whether you use it or you don't is once again up to you. But and if you have an attorney, maybe you need to start asking your attorney some of these questions too. Hey, I need to understand this because this don't seem right. What about this? What about that? And then, like Darren was saying, under your Rule 60, that's ineffective counsel. If they can't explain that stuff to you, if you have questions or you want to do this in your case. Or you'll hear a lot of people, my attorney wouldn't file anything that I gave him. Here, take this, file this. I want this on the record. If the attorney fails to do that after you're his employer, he has to file it. He's required to file it. That's ineffective counsel. Anything I gave my attorney to put on the record or file was not able to get on there. And then you can come in with all that evidence of going, here's all the stuff that he refused to file. Or the court clerk wouldn't put on there. Now the court clerk has committed a crime by not putting it on the court record. See how this works?
Yep.
But once again, you got to know what's right and wrong and what they're supposed to do and not supposed to do. And if you don't know that, you got to educate yourself on it. And it's different for every state, but you got to know what's right and wrong, because there's a lot of stuff in their policies and procedures that are illegal as hell to do, even against your own state constitution. And when you point that out of, wait a minute, you can't do that. No, you can't do that. I mean, they'll even write laws that, there's one law I looked at, a code, I should say, not a law, but a code that turned around and says, hey, if you break this code, such as not having cross-examination under the rules of evidence and this and that, you get a retrial. Wait a minute. How do you get a retrial if the court has turned around and the state says a retrial? How do you do that when you just violated due process and constitutional rights? How do you get another shot at it? That doesn't make sense. See what I mean? You see what I'm saying about the ignorance of once again, lawmakers, that they should have never put that in there. Why? Because it's a due process violation. Because if you can't face your accuser in a civil or criminal case, it's a due process violation. It's just that simple. So, guys, we're gonna take and wrap this thing up for, like I said, the evening. And we'll see you again 30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on YouTube. Hopefully it gets through to Facebook, because we don't see a lot of stuff from Facebook, and I have to go back and check it. I don't know why that's not been fixed or anything. Facebook screw up. But once again, thanks guys for your support. And like I said, and all the stir you're getting, and man, the friends requests are still coming in. From people in other places, even across the country, in states that weren't before now following. Now they're getting a hold of this stuff. Guys, we're making a difference. We're educating people. And once again, now the corruption, now they're learning how to go into the federal courts. Now they're learning how to do this and that. And they're saying, this isn't right, that isn't right. And now they're catching on. And by the time you get done with it, once again, as you go through this, even as some of these people go, now I'm educated, and they encounter them again. Oh, no, you're not getting away with this. Now I'm making a list, and I'm watching you because I know what to look for, and I know how to track your crimes. And now I know I can now bypass this crap that's going on, file writs to the appellate court, or hell, I can move this to federal court because you've given me no ADA. Great vehicle, but have other federal questions other than the ADA there, especially jurisdiction. Great concept. Why? Who can rule on jurisdiction when there's a question, especially between multiple states? Only the federal government has the jurisdiction to make that under the UCC JEA. Keep that in mind. That means a judge can't coerce you across state lines to come into their jurisdiction. That's a violation of the UCC JEA. They didn't have jurisdiction without coercion or intimidation to get you across state lines. And yes, that includes even if they threaten to arrest you. Yes, it's a UCC JEA violation. I'm over in one state. I'm out of your jurisdiction. You can't command me to do jack, or I'm in another state. No, but you can coerce and this, that. Well, once you start the coercion, or the judge does, once again, that's next week, even seizing somebody's cell phone in the courtroom, that's a Fourth Amendment violation. And then to coerce somebody across state lines to come into jurisdiction that's kidnapping. Because you didn't have jurisdiction if they were over in another state. Once you did that and the judge did those things, they've now committed a felony. And they're getting called out for it. But guys, this is why education is important. Support each other, man. You know what I'm saying? As we're wrapping this up, support each other. Get behind each other. Make it about the education, the personal differences. And anybody that's going out there and saying, I've got the absolute solution for anything, guys, it's not going to happen. Because your case is unique. And you've got to understand the difference of what's in your case, what's not in your case, what applies, what doesn't apply, what your strongest are. Once again, that's all those things your paid attorney was supposed to do that you come to find out they didn't do. But once you get educated and you turn around and now that's what they're scared of. What? We outnumber them. And when we're educated and we can stand on something saying, you broke the law and I have the proof of it, or you broke your judicial canons, or you did this, or you did this, or did that, that wipes the things away. Why? And that gets your kids home. This is why it's important. Put on that study cap. There's tons of resources, but cooperating with CPS, nah, not going to happen. Not going to contract with you. Don't have to. I'm not legally obligated to do anything with CPS. It's supposed to be a voluntary services, but it's not. But get them on their policy. Hey, we had a deadline. You have this deadline in court. You have this. The state says you have this. They must abide by that. Stay strong, guys. We'll see you next week. And once again, welcome to the reckoning. And watch that onion peel and watch what's going on in our world, because it's going to change dramatically. We're only just a hair over a year in. We ain't to the core yet, baby. But wait till you see the core. There's the fun part. Have a great evening. Great week. Thanks.